linear and volumetric changes. In this one, we'll go like this. First of all, we'll start with the linear changes, then we'll go with volumetric changes. In linear changes, we'll see the linear changes due to application of loads, and here we'll see linear changes due to application of or change of temperature. Here again, first of all, we'll see about single bars, then we see composite bars. Single bars, then we see composite bars. Okay, so here also in volumetric change, we'll see regarding the loads, and then we see regarding temperature change. Clear? Okay, so we'll go step by step. This completes our whole part of the chapter. So this is the third section of this chapter, is the fourth section. So this whole flow chart completes our remaining part of the chapter. Clear, everybody? Okay, make it fast. Copy this thing so that you can have an idea where actually we are standing, how much is over. So if you are very less time consuming, few are little bit more time consuming. Yeah, Sanjay, that means at gate level we don't have composite cases, or composite bars will not be dealing with that one regarding volumetric changes. So if you study about volumetric changes with loads and temperature for a single member, it's more than sufficient, because that's very complicated. As far as gate is concerned, here only we'll see very less number of questions. We have seen only one question, we've seen two questions, both are based upon single formula only for the past 31 years, including both mechanical and civil. Still, as it is there in syllabus, we are doing it. Okay, but we haven't seen any questions at all. So we don't need to go till composite bars or composite members made up of more than one material when you are dealing with volumetric changes. Okay. So first of all, we are going with this one here. Linear changes due to single bars due to loads. So first of all, you should understand what is a prismatic bar. A prismatic bar means the bar which is uniform in terms of area of cross section throughout the length. So uniform in terms of area of cross section means both in terms of shape and also both in terms of magnitude of the area of cross section. Okay. So write down the definition first. So we are going with the first branch of the whole flow chart. Linear changes in the single bars due to loads. So we have a rod like this. Look here. So whole length is equal to L. Area of cross section is A. Young's modulus is E. Elongation is equal to load into length by area into Young's modulus. This is the formula which we generally use. Okay. But if you have a scenario where at intermediate locations there are multiple forces, let's take this is P1, P2. Here let's assume there is P3. In another location there is P4. So when you have multiple forces like this, then we should be solving in a little bit different way. Okay? So I'm just going with this one here, though the diagram shown on the screen is different, because ultimately the concept is very important. So total length is equal to L, and you can take this part is equal to L1, this part is equal to L2, this part is equal to L3, and you can give the names as this one as A, this one as B, this one as C, this one as D. So if you take the sides, so here there is P2, so here there is P1, so here there is P3, this is P4. Now what you should do is, everyone listen carefully here, because it's not about directly applying a formula. We should understand how to do this procedure. Let's take all of them separately, AB separately, BC separately, and CD separately. AB, BC and CD. So let's take this force as small a, this force as small b, this as small c. We don't know. And I'm assuming in a default way to be tensile. Every member is experiencing tensile force. So your calculation will give you the value of ABC along with sign. If it comes out to be negative, that means they are experiencing compressive force. Okay. So if you take here, at junction B, A and B are giving rise to P3. In fact, P3 is giving rise to A and B. So what you should do? What you should do is, left side of equality sign, you will be putting A and B according to the system that this is positive direction and this is negative direction. A minus B, at junction B, P3 is their negative direction, so minus P3. At junction C, we should write down B minus C is equal to P4 because B is acting in positive direction, C is acting in negative direction and P4 is acting in positive direction. And at junction D, there is C equal to P2. At junction A, minus C is equal to minus P1. Everybody understood writing down these 4 equations? Or any doubt is there? Please let me know because that is the most crucial step of this section. And for every numerical it's going to be different, so you should understand how you are writing down correctly. Okay, so we got these equations. So from this we can say A is equal to P1, C is equal to P2, C is equal to P2 means this implies B is equal to P2 minus P4. Okay, and from this we'll get the value of B as A minus P3, A plus P3. So P1 plus P3 here. Okay, you may wonder, here you are getting B is equal to P1 plus P3, here you are getting B is equal to P2 plus P4. In fact, both are same. The reason is, if you take equilibrium condition for this, minus P1 minus P3 plus P4 plus P2 should be equal to 0. That means P2 plus P4 is equal to P1 plus P3. So here you have a advantage. You can cross check. By doing your calculations, you are getting B value as same means you did nothing mistake in these steps. If you did some mistake means you'll get wrong, at least in terms of sign. So if anything is different means, that means your calculation is wrong. You can cross check. So you got all the values of small a, small b, small c, that means forces here. You'll be getting along with sign. So you can understand which one will be experiencing tension, which will be experiencing compression. So if you want to get stresses, so stresses are written down here. So stress in member AB is nothing but small a by area of cross section. Stress in member BC is equal to small b by area of cross section. Stress in member CD is equal to small c by area of cross section. Okay. Now if you take for elongation, total elongation is nothing but, so delta total is nothing but elongation of AB part plus elongation of BC part, elongation of CD part. Elongation of AB part is due to small a into length by area into Young's modulus of AB part. BC part elongation is equal to nothing but B into length by area into Young's modulus of BC part plus C into length by area into Young's modulus of CD part. Understood? So substituting those values, you'll get the answer. And please keep in mind to substitute A, B, C along with sign. So if any of the value is negative means that is compression. So algebraically they will add up. Okay, so if positive values are lesser than negative values, you'll be getting net value as compression. Okay, so you'll get answer for elongation and for also stress, for also force, everything in terms of sign. If you do the calculation correctly, that itself will help you to get the answer correctly without any mistake. Okay, you can go with the next question. Here I took same area of cross section. Okay, strictly speaking, this is area of AB, this is area of BC, area of CD. So here length area influence of AB part, length area influence of BC part, same way for CD part respectively there. Acha, here both are not correct. I did some mistake. Okay, let me check here. A minus B is equal to P3 minus P3. B minus C is equal to P4. So B is equal to C plus P4. P2 plus P4. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. P2 plus P4 should come out to be P1 plus P3. So P1 plus P3, P2 plus P4. Both are same. So I did some mistake. So I got different. Understood? So you can take the next question. I hope the mistake is corrected now. The figure below shows a steel rod of 25 mm square cross-sectional area. It is loaded at 4 points KL, MN as shown in the figure. So we have to get total change in the length. So here if you separate each and every part, so this is KL, this is LM, and this is MN. So this is, I'm assuming it to be small a, this I'm assuming it to be small b, this I'm assuming it to be small c. So at junction L, you can say A minus B is equal to 250. At junction M, B minus C should be written as minus 200. At junction N, it should be C is equal to 50. At junction K, minus A should be minus 100. So this gives you A is equal to 100, C is equal to 50. C is equal to 50 means B will become minus 150. From this, B comes out to be A minus 250, 100 minus 250 minus 150. So both are coming same, so my calculation is right. So using this, we can get the value of elongation. So delta total is nothing but A into length by area into Young's modulus of KL part plus B into length by area into Young's modulus of LM part plus C into length by area into Young's modulus of MN part. So that gives you the answer as B. You can check the calculation. Can we write ABC without solving? Sanjay, there are other methods as well to solve this question. Why I advise you people to go by this method only? Because there is advantage of cross-checking. You can cross-check whether your approach or anywhere you have done mistake or not. So to have 100% clarity whether you have done solving correctly or not, so I advise you to go by this method. If you think other methods are also other method which you know, which you might have learned in your college is good for that particular question, you can use that as well. Not a problem at all. So in this model you have seen till now statically determinate type of numericals. Now we are going to see statically indeterminate type. And without my explanation also, without my help also, you can solve this question. Kindly solve it, then I will give the explanation. Okay, I'll explain this question. So we have to get ratio in the forces, ratio of the loads shared by parts AB and BC. So AB and BC here, if you take them separately, AB and BC, I am assuming force on AB is small a, BC small b. At junction B we can say A minus B is equal to P. At junction B, equation between A, B and P is nothing but A minus B is equal to P. So we have only one equation, but we have two unknowns, small a and small b. Okay? But from the diagram we can say that total elongation of the bar is equal to 0. So you can write down the formula for delta total, which actually is A into length by area into Young's modulus of AB part plus B into length by area into Young's modulus of BC part is equal to 0. So you can write down A, area and Young's modulus are same. Length of AB part is 2L by 3 plus B into L by 3 is equal to 0. This gives you 2A plus B is equal to 0. It is equation number 1 and it is equation number 2. So if you solve the both of them, A minus B is equal to P and 2A plus B is equal to 0. From second equation only we can give the answer for this, because 2A is equal to minus B, A minus B is equal to minus 1 by 2. The answer is 1 is to 2. Okay? Understand, the answer is equal to 1 is to 2. But if you want to get individual values, so you can get by solving the both of them. By solving both of them, 3A is equal to P, small a is equal to P by 3 and small b is equal to A minus P. So P by 3 minus P, so minus 2P by 3. So this implies that the member BC is experiencing compression because B is coming out to be compressive. So this is experiencing tension, but this is experiencing compression, and they are giving rise to net elongation is equal to 0. That's how you have to solve this question. Clear? So whatever you learned, you apply in the next question, which was GATE 2018 question, mechanical engineering paper, and get the answer. It can cause a little confusion, but strictly speaking, if you just go with the method without getting confused, you can get the correct answer. Try from your side, everyone. If you take this question, they given that a bimetallic cylindrical bar of cross-sectional area 1 meter square is made by bonding steel of Young's modulus 210 gigapascal and aluminium is 70 gigapascal. As shown in the figure, to maintain tensile axial strain of magnitude 10 power of minus 6 in steel bar. So strain in steel is 10 power of minus 6 and strain in aluminium they are given as minus 10 power of minus 6. Okay, So the magnitude of the required force P along the indicated direction is. So we have to get the value of magnitude of force P. So here the given Young's modulus of steel, aluminium strains are given here. We should get the corresponding value of force P. So if you take the diagrams separately, so you take this as AB and this as BC, small a, small b and small b. So A minus B value is nothing but applied force P. And here net elongation is equal to 0. So delta total is equal to A into length by area into Young's modulus of AB part plus B into length by area into Young's modulus of BC part is equal to 0. So small a into length of this part. So here they have directly given us the values of strains. They have directly given us the value of strains here. So here strain of steel is 10 power of minus 6. It is nothing but change in length of the steel by original length of the steel here. Okay, and strain aluminium is minus 10 power of minus 6 is equal to change in length of aluminium by original length. So this gives us change in length of steel is 10 power of minus 6 into L by 2 because length of that steel is L by 2. So length of aluminum is also equal to L by 2. So both are having same length. So elongations will also be of same magnitude but opposite sense here. But in this one you have to get the value of force P. So we should get in terms of forces small a and small b. Okay. So here if you write down or take these elongations, 10 power of minus 6 is equal to small a by L. L will be going off here. Area into Young's modulus of steel and 10 power of minus 6 by L is equal to or length is equal to or length of aluminum is equal to small b by area into Young's modulus of aluminium. So you should get small a and small b from this. So you can get easily here. Small a is equal to 10 power of minus 6. Sorry, 10 power of minus 6 itself is the value of strain. So you can remove this length here. It's not required at all. So 10 power of minus 6 into area of cross section, that is 1, into Young's modulus of steel, that is given as 210 into 10 power of 9. So small a is equal to 210 into 10 cube Newton. And from this one we'll get small b is equal to minus 10 power of minus 6 into 1 into, that is given as 70 into 10 power of 9. So we'll get b is equal to minus 70 into 10 power of 3 Newton. So we have a minus b is equal to p. So a minus b is equal to p implies p is equal to a minus b. So 280 into 10 cube Newton, but they're expecting us to give the answer in kilonewton. So 280 kilonewton. Very good. So take this question as a homework because whatever you learned you start to apply. I want you people to think peacefully and give the answer. So these two questions, whatever we discussed, whatever I given as homework, kindly make sure to solve it before coming to the next class. Copy the next question. So now we are going with the extension of the tapered rod. So here area of cross section is going on varying along the length. Okay, so here let's take the diameter is d1, here it is equal to d2. The answer doesn't matter whether left side larger diameter is there, right side smaller diameter is there, or the vice versa. So when you are applying a tensile force P here, we have the formula for elongation as P dx by A of x into Young's modulus from 0 to L. So here x axis is varying from here 0 and this is length L. Okay, so in this one, this is x, diameter is going on varying. At x is equal to 0, diameter is d1, x is equal to L, diameter is d2. At a distance x, diameter is d. Let's get this value d, which is a function of x. So applying slope, so AB slope is nothing but AC slope. It's nothing but d minus d1 by x minus 0 is equal to d2 minus d1 by L minus 0. This gives you d is equal to d1 plus d2 minus d1 by L into x. So if you use diameter to get the value of area, you'll be getting A of x. A of x is equal to pi by 4 into d square. Okay, now elongation, by substituting in that, if you do the integration, you'll get the answer as 4pl by pi d1 d2 into E. Why I'm giving answer directly is the derivation of the integration little bit difficult. Okay, little bit difficult, but the final answer is very easy to remember, because if you have diameters d1 d2 to be same, you'll be getting answer as 4p over pi d square by pi d square into e. So as d1 d2 are different, so we are having d1 into d2 here. That's it. Clear? So this is how we're going to use this formula to find out elongation of this tapered rod. And you copy it fast. After this, we'll go with the next concept: extension of the rod under its own weight. Listen carefully. We should understand the derivation here. So, in this case, we have to consider the body weight. They're expecting us to consider the body weight here. The member is hanging with the vertical surface, so we should consider the weight of the body to find out the elongation. And here, elongation is occurring only due to the body weight itself. Here, if you observe, what is the force which is causing elongation along the length? Look here. If I take this part of the bar, the force which is causing elongation is weight of the bottom element, which is in the red circle. If I take some other element which is a little bit longer than the previous one, it is elongating due to the force produced by weight of the bottom member, which is little lesser than this one here. Okay. If I am taking this one, elongation will occur due to weight of this one here. So we see that as we are going down, the force which is causing is going on decreasing. The force which is causing elongation is going on decreasing, or along the length, force responsible for causing elongation is going on varying. So till now we have seen the conditions were in a simple tension. Young's modulus is going on varying along the length. Area was going along varying along the length. Now we are going to see the case where load is going on varying along the length. Okay. So here we will go with an approach to solve it. I am rubbing this. It's not required to be copied. So I am taking the bar here. The bar is like this. I am assuming this is origin and positive x-axis is upside. Just for our simplicity, we are going or we are taking x direction the positive y direction here. Okay. From this is origin here. I am taking an element which is over a distance of x and it is having a length dx. This element. So that element is having a length dx, area of cross section A, Young's modulus E. Okay. This is experiencing a force equal to weight of the bottom member. So whatever the red colored weight is there, that is causing the elongation here. So force P is equal to weight of bottom member. So it is nothing but mass into gravity. Mass is density into volume into mass density into volume. It can be written as area into length into g here. But here area is A but length is equal to g. So force in terms of x comes out to be rho A into g. Here if area is going on varying, we will take area also. Understand? So you can derive the value of force in terms of again this force again in terms of this function x itself, okay, or independent variable x. So generally that will be valid for tapered rod or triangular rod, okay, that is not there in the syllabus. So if you have like this, area is also going on varying. So you should take area as a function of x and we should do the integration. Anyways, we are doing for this one itself. So load is equal to rho x into g and we have the formula is p of x dx by area into Young's modulus where x is varying from 0 to L. So P of x is nothing but rho A x into g dx by area into Young's modulus from 0 to L. It comes out to be rho g x dx by E integration from 0 to L. So it becomes rho g x square by 2E from 0 to L. Elongation will become rho g L square by 2 into Young's modulus. This is the answer for this question. If you substitute in terms of weight, it will become W L by 2 A E, because W is equal to given as W value is equal to given as rho A L into G. So if you multiply and divide by area, you can remove rho A L into G as W. You can get the answer in that way. But strictly speaking, the correct answer is this one. It is just a notation. Understood? So this is the answer for this question. Kindly copy the derivation as well and answer this next question. Yeah, the correct answer is D, because it is according to this expression. We should not give according to this expression because we are having independent variables here. Rho is independent of everything, G is independent value, length is independent value, Young's modulus is independent value. Volume is depending upon density and mass. Density is independent value there. In fact, mass, okay, so volume comes out to be, for example, you take mass is equal to density to volume. Okay, so how much amount of mass is there is coming from density and volume here. Again, volume comes from dimensions, length, breadth and height. So these are independent. So based upon these three values, you'll get this thing. And density is independent here. Density is not having any other formula. You have to measure the value of density. The correct answer is according to option number D, where elongation is proportional to L square and independent of diameter D. Let's go with the second part. Linear changes in composite bars due to loads. So let's understand what exactly is a composite bar. So composite bar is nothing but the bar made up of more than one material. So simple definition, it's very simple to understand. So single bar means bar made up of single material. Composite bar means bar made up of more than one material. Okay, please write down the statement. Composite bar, the bar made up of more than one material. Done? Okay, so basically we have already dealt with composite bars in a few numericals. For example, we have taken one numerical where it is having steel up to some amount of length and remaining part is aluminium. That's already a composite bar. It's already a composite bar. We already dealt with that. So wherever the material is going on varying along the length, we already dealt with that. So there's nothing extra to study in that one. So now we're going to take those bars where the material is varying along the radius. So here it is steel and remaining part is aluminium. So basically how it is produced? We insert a steel bar inside aluminium tube. We insert a steel bar inside an aluminium tube. Understand? Okay. And after assembling, both should elongate by the same value or both should compress by the same value. Both should elongate by the same value, both should compress by same value. Understand? After assembling, if steel is elongating by some other value and aluminum is elongating by different value, then both are acting independently or behaving independently. So we don't want that to happen. Okay, so here we are going to take an assembly, that's why. So both should elongate or get compressed by same value. Clear? That's the requirement here. Whenever you are assembling two materials to make a composite bar, so the whole bar should elongate by the same value. Yes, exactly, Sanjay, very good. So how is it possible? So first of all, we should assemble in such a way that so that we can make it possible. Okay, fine. So let me go ahead. So I hope you guys have understood that we are going to deal with these type of composite bars. Let's understand how to make both of them to elongate by the same value, both of them to compress by the same value when some force is applied. Okay. So first case is using interference fit. So what we do is, we'll take the solid shaft of diameter D and we'll take this hollow shaft of diameter D minus E inside, and this is something D1 here. Okay, so there is material in this region from D minus E to D. Okay, so D minus E to E here, the material. So if you try to insert this solid shaft inside this hollow shaft, it is not possible. Okay, so what we do is we heat this. Once we heat that, its internal diameter will increase. So let's assume this is becoming D plus E. Okay, so this diameter became D plus E. Let's assume like that. Okay, so this got increased to D plus E. Okay, now you can insert this solid shaft inside the hollow shaft. So at the higher temperature, we will insert the solid shaft inside the hollow shaft because its dimensions got increased or diameter got increased. Now we cool that hollow shaft. So when we cool the hollow shaft, it will try to regain its original diameter D minus E. But as we have already inserted this solid shaft, it will go till diameter D only. So now it is trying to go till D minus E, but it is stopped to compress beyond D minus beyond D itself. So what happens is the hollow shaft will be grabbing the solid shaft with a huge amount of force. Okay, it's very tight. It will be touching or grabbing that solid shaft. So if you apply force on this solid shaft, it will pull hollow shaft as well. If you apply force on the hollow shaft, it will pull solid shaft as well. These things will not be there in the books, but it's required for your understanding purpose. Understood? So it is not strictly an interference fit which you're going to study in your manufacturing engineering, but based upon the overlap of the dimensions, we achieve this one here. Using the same technique, this rim for bullock carts, wooden bullock carts, it is attached. So the rim at normal temperature will be having lesser diameter on the bullock cart. So you can imagine rim as this, like this. If the bullock cart is like this, so let's assume the bullock cart diameter is D. Rim's diameter will actually be D minus E. So what they do is, as rim is made up of metal rim, they heat this. Once they heat this, this diameter will go beyond D. And then we cool it. So this rim will be grabbing the surface or circumference of this corresponding wooden wheel. Okay, so it will be grabbing that. So the assembly will be having more life as compared to a conventional or simple wooden wheel. And next method which we use to produce this composite bar is using a support. So what we do is, we simply put a support or rigid disc at the right corner. You can see there the diagram. So imagine this is a composite bar. Already inside the hole of the hollow shaft, we have inserted the solid shaft. So both are attached with some rigid support at the right side or one side. So if you apply force on the rigid disc or end mass written there, it will pull both the members. It will be pulling both the members. Understand? So like that we will be giving rise to same elongation in both the members. Understood? So whatever method you use or whatever the technique we use, we will be, that is whatever the technique we are using, whether we are using interference fit or this rigid support or end mass as rigid support, you will have same answers. I mean, concept is going to remain same. Shall we go ahead? So let's understand how to deal with this. You guys can copy this and later I'll rub the board. Okay, so once look at the picture in the secondary screen here. There is one steel bar, and this is made up of copper, and we have a rigid support like this. So two different materials are there. Let's assume a load is applied in some particular fashion so that both are compressed by same value. That means steel got compressed by same value. This copper also compressed by same value. Steel got compressed by same value and copper also compressed by same value. Understand? So if you have this scenario, the concept is completely same with respect to the composite bar concept which we studied, which we just started. So we'll deal with these type of numericals also in this part of the session. In this part of the section, we'll never ever deal with those cases where these delta steel, delta copper is different, because it becomes something different. Understood? Okay, clear? So we'll be going with only the cases where elongations of both the materials is same. Put the title, everyone. So for all these three cases, or for the composite bar case and this case, the concept is same. So let's apply the concept and solve the numericals. Let's understand the concept and solve the numericals. So all bar of equal length subject to load. So this concept, though we are explaining about same length bars, but it is valid for non-equal length bars as well. So we're going to see a question based upon that. So you can understand that there is nothing much difference there. So here if you draw the free body diagram, so for the supports, we are applying a force P, and here reaction forces P1, P2, P3 will come from the bottom deformable rods. So P1, P2, P3. So here also you get P1, P2 and P3. Understood? Now if you apply equilibrium condition, we can say P1 plus P2 plus P3 is equal to P, or minus P is equal to 0. We have three unknowns, but you have only one equation. So it's also a case of statically little bit numerical. The compatibility condition which you can apply is nothing but all bars will undergo elongation and compression to be same. So you can write down, so P1 L1 by A1 E1 is equal to P2 L2 by A2 E2 is equal to P3 L3 by A3 E3. So using these conditions, you will evaluate the value of P1, P2, P3. Based upon the areas, you can divide the loads to get the values of stresses. Understood? Clear? You can take this question, Civil Engineering 2007 gate question. Kindly copy that. So this concept is easy. Yeah, very good, Ankit. Correct answer. 10, 30, 10. So the answer is C here. So options are given. The answer is C. So I'm giving the explanation here. If you take the bar, it is like this, experiencing 30 kilonewton force, and here there is P1, this is P2, let's say this as P3. We have P1 plus P2 plus P3 is equal to 30 kilonewton. Now if you take the rod's elongation, P1 L1 by A1 E1 is equal to P2 L2 by A2 E2 is equal to P3 L3 by A3 E3. So P1 into length of the first one is nothing but given as L. Area is 3A. So all the rods are having same material, made up of same material, so same Young's modulus. P2 into length of this one is little less. Central one is L, outer one is 2L, and area is 2A. So P2 into L by 3A into Young's modulus is equal to P3 into 2L by 2A into Young's modulus. This gives us P1 is equal to P2 by 3 is equal to P3. So take it as P. This implies P1 is equal to P, P2 is equal to 3P, P3 is equal to P. Substituting all in equation number 1 implies, so 3, 4, 5. 3, center rod is L and 3A, here 2L and 2L here, so 2P by 3, so P1, P2, P2 is equal to 3P, P3 is equal to P here, P1 plus P2 plus P3 is equal to 30. So 3, 4, 5, so 5P is equal to 30 kilonewton. There is some mistake here. 2 will go P3 by 3. P3 is equal to 3P. P2 is equal to 3P. P1 is equal to P. 3, 4, 5 is equal to 30. Applied force is 50 here. Sorry. So I'm able to get this mistake because I remember the answer. Okay. So if you don't remember the answer, we'll be getting as 10. Then we'll be going with options. Then we'll check. So your answers are not matching with options. So you'll be again coming back. If you are having the wrong option, wrong answer as the option, then nobody can help you. So you should be careful whenever you are solving. So this gives you P is equal to 10 kilonewton. So this implies P1 is equal to P3 is equal to 10 kilonewton and P2 is equal to 30 kilonewton. So central rod is experiencing 30 kilonewton, outer rods are experiencing 10. So central and outer rods should be given in the sequence. So central is 30, outer is 10. So 30 comma 10. C is the answer here. Okay. So we are done with this. So we are done with this second branch of the whole flow chart. Now we are entering into the third branch, that is linear changes in single bars due to temperature change. Kindly put the title.